Boogity, boogity, boogity! It's the last race of the fucking season here in Speed Force Racing League. My name is Phoebe Thomas and I'm going to be your commentator for tonight. We are in round 21 of season 15 here in Speed Force Racing, and we are racing with Division 2, of course. It's a close championship battle between Keefs and, of course, Calvin Racing, who has been in, well, near the top for almost the whole season already, but Keefs has taken the lead in the last couple of races. So let's have a look who is going to be crowned king of championship, well, how do you call that, driver champion here in Speed Force Racing. Keefs is going to be one of the first ones to come out, and we also have a farewell race for Mr. Mark Querty, because unfortunately he is going to be leaving Speed Force Racing for only a season or maybe longer. We don't know, but he has decided he's going to hang the gloves on the wall and not going to race next season. But the ones to look at are, of course, Keefs and Calvin Racing. These guys have been battling with each other for the whole season already. Keefs being a little bit more impressive over the last couple of races. Won the race last week, won the sprint race last week, and also won, well, had the pole time last week. I'm just going to double check the standings so we have the correct numbers for you guys. And girl, of course, Melissa, welcome. Welcome, Steve. Welcome, CGB Racing. I hope you guys are going to be having a good evening. Let me double check the points for you guys. So Keefs is currently in P1 and he's got quite a few points ahead of Calvin Racing, 19 to be exact, but the race winner gets 25 points. So if Calvin Racing gets the race win and Keefs gets P2 with the fastest lap, let me double check who has won the most Grand Prix. Let me double check. I think that must be Keefs. No, that is not true. So let's say the points are equal. Let's say they both, well, let's say Calvin Racing has won the Grand Prix. Keefs comes in P2 and gets the fastest lap. Then Calvin Racing will be crowned driver champion of the world. No, that is not true. What am I saying, dude? What am I saying? So, if Keefs crashes out, right, if he DNFs and doesn't get a single point, Calvin Racing needs to either get the race win or get P2 with the fastest lap, but then we are looking at some other points and other results. I think we will then be going off the amount of second places, and that would be going to Calvin Racing. So if Calvin Racing gets P2 with the fastest lap or P1 with or without the fastest lap, he will be crowned champion of the world, but only if Keefs crashes into the wall. So Keefs, all he needs to do is just finish the race. Preferably in the top 15 if Calvin Racing gets the race win tonight, but the chances of that being happening is quite small because we have a lot of fast drivers on the grid today. Cassidy, we've got Mansell, we've got let me double check, Mindful Wasp, of course, one of the guys who points are different than SFR. Yeah, I know, Mansell. Race winner still gets 25, right? Race winner still gets 25. Oh no, 35. Oh no, never mind, last week it was 35, but the points are indeed different. So only if Keefs crashes out and Calvin Racing gets the race win, he can be crowned champion of the world, or Calvin Racing needs to get P2 with the fastest lap. Keefs currently on a fast lap, entering sector 3 at the moment, and Silverstone, one of the best racing tracks, although I think Belgium is a little bit better. Yeah, first 25, second 22. Oh, second 22! Right, I'm totally mistaken there. Keefs with the fastest lap though, 126.1. Puts himself on pole for now. Apparently, Calvin Racing has got enough with third. Or I assume fourth with the fastest lap. Yep, indeed. Thanks, Mansell. Really appreciate it, mate. Really appreciate it. Fifth gets 16 points, so that won't be enough for Calvin Racing, as he is currently trailing by 19 points in total. So he needs to get 19 points or more compared to Keith's. But as things are looking like right now, Keith's with the fastest lap of 126.1, and I think he has done an amazing amount of practice into the game these last couple of days, because look at the time difference between Keith's and Shaggy at the moment. 6:10s in total. Mindful Wasp has joined the lobby again, and Calvin Racing has even put more practice into the game. A 125.8 for the Red Bull driver, and all we can hope for is that the race will be clean between the leaders. Calvin Racing and Keith's, they both cannot afford to crash each other out. Well, they can actually, but they do risk getting banned from the league if that would happen, or other sanctions, but I'm not the admin, so I'm not going to decide anything there. Let's go on board with Energy Dan here, currently coming into Megats and Baggots, one of the most difficult sections around the F1 calendar here in Silverstone. And as I said before, Silverstone, a very iconic track. The track has been there since 1950. It was one of the most iconic tracks too, because I think the most races have been driven around Silverstone, around the iconic Silverstone layout that we know today. So this is actually one of the only track layouts that have been existent since 1950. There are some other tracks like Monza, like Spa-Francorchamps, who were there too in 1950, but unfortunately those tracks have changed over the years. Silverstone, one of the most iconic tracks therefore. Mr. Wiggles coming around the last corner. He did invalidate his last lap, so he's gonna have to go for another one. Saved a lot of ERS, so he will be able to put a good performance in his Alfa Romeo. The last time he will be driving in that Alfa Romeo, because in the next game, the F1 24 game, that will of course be Kick Stake, and that will of course be the beautiful green and black livery from the Kick Stake car. And we will also be changing to the Red Bull Visa Cash App car, and that will be such a tongue twister for me to say during the commentaries, but I guess it is what it is. And I don't even know whether these guys want me back again as commentary, so we will just have to wait there. It's good to see you too, Steve. How are you doing, mate? Cassidy currently on a fast one, as he's going to be entering Sector 2. Good evening. I assume that is Martin with the Speed Force Racing YouTube channel. Cassidy currently put himself in P1 with that fastest first sector, but he still needs to tackle that second and third sector here around Silverstone. Silverstone, a very technical track. Sector 1 is a lot of high-speed corners, but then when you enter that second part of Sector 1, you're going to be struggling a little bit with low downforce, and then in Sector 2, you have got a very good exit out of, well, you need a very good exit out of turn 7 to be able to make an overtake into Cobb's Corner, which is turn 9, which of course the iconic Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen crash happened in 2021, where Hamilton put Verstappen in the wall, got a 10-second time penalty, but still won the race by a mile. And that Mercedes 2021 was an absolute beast, which gave Lewis Hamilton the opportunity to push that hard throughout the Silverstone Grand Prix. Let's have a quick look. Mindful was one of the fastest guys here on the grid. Unfortunately, couldn't show that throughout the season, as he's only going to be in the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. Cassidy is probably in P3. It is Mansell actually in P3. We have got Cassidy in P4, Utkar's in P5, and Mindful Wasp in P6. Not too far behind. He's also got 2 race wins, which is quite remarkable. The top 6 all have all have a race win. And then, of course, we've got Oliver, who has 2 race wins too, but has been a little bit absent these last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, due to a strategic... how do you say that? Moment in his life, I'll say it like that. Let's have a quick look with the fastest laps. So, interestingly enough, Calvin Racing hasn't had a single fastest lap over the whole season. Keith's has got 2. The driver with the most fastest laps is actually Mindful Wasp, so that does show his 1 lap pace, and that is what he's going to be showing here today too. Only puts himself in P13. That's a bit disappointing from the English driver. Looking at the podiums, we have got our clear winner being Calvin Racing with 10 podiums throughout the whole season. That is almost 50% of the races he has been on the podium. Of course, we've got a calendar of 21 races. Usually it's 22 or 23, but Monaco has not been included into the calendar due to various reasons. I think we all know what the main reason is. Here comes Mansell into Sector 3. We've got an Alpine car on the outside, but he wasn't too much interfering with the Haas driver. Here comes Mansell around the last corner turn. 18 and 19 for the Haas driver, and what will it be for Mansell coming across the line to put himself in P2 right in front of Mr. Keeves. So we've got an annoying how can we call it, interference between Keeves and Calvin Racing, being the Haas driver Mansell. The amount of points, poles actually, goes to Keeves. He has had 4 in total. Right behind him is a Mindful Wasp and Calvin Racing, both with 3. Calvin Racing actually has 3 penalty points, so he has to watch out with the amount of penalty points he's going to be getting today, because I'm not sure if there is going to be some sort of system where he's going to be getting extra penalty points or extra seconds in the race in case he would get penalty points. And then, I mean, looking at the results, Keeves was really good at the beginning of the season. Then in the middle of the season, he was quite not great, let's say it like that. And in the last 4 races, he's won 3 races, so really is trying to push and get that Drivers' Championship for the Alpine team. Looking at the Constructors' Championship, that is also a very interesting thing to look at. Red Bull, clear winners with more than 100 points ahead of P2, which is the Haas team, led by Mansell and then his teammate Basti Gaming, of course. Calvin Racing, another fastest lap with a 125.7. Let's go on board with Utkarsh as he comes across the line, improving by 3/10, putting himself in front of Keeves. And then both the Mercedes drivers will make it difficult for Keeves. As you can see, they're quite close behind the Alpine driver at the moment. You might want to go all the way at the back of the grid. And Mr. Wiggles hasn't set a time yet, is going to try to go for another one right now. And then, of course, we've got P3 being Alpine. Alpine, who have had some ups and downs as a team. Doran, who sometimes is there, sometimes who, well, isn't there. And that is something he might need to work on next season. Well, on the new game, everything will change. The grids will change, the divisions will change. Possibly Keeves will bump up to Division 1. And then we will, of course, not be able to commentate on Keeves. But of course, there's other drivers from Division 1 that come to Division 2 who would love to watch the commentary right there. Possibly a couple of guys who are in the lobby right now. Maybe Ronnie. We haven't seen Ronnie yet over the whole season, so he might be one of the Division 1 guys dropping back to Division 2. Mr. Wiggles invalidated once again, but did come across the line right on time with 127.5, putting himself in P15. Not bad at all. He's got a little bit of traffic right behind him. Oh my days, no way. Apparently there is a full wet race coming, and that is going to cause so much chaos for these guys. Ellie putting herself in P10. Not bad at all by the McLaren driver. Let me have a quick look. They can get rid of your commentary, Thomas. Thank you very much, Steve. Really appreciate that. Cassidy on another fastest lap. Well, fastest lap. Hopefully it is a fastest lap, because everyone wants to be on a pole position, but that is not always the case for everybody. I think Calvin Racing has got a good shot with 3/10 ahead of P2. He's even going to be able to improve even more in these last 4 minutes. Cassidy with a 126.5, putting himself in P9 at the moment, but is he up on his time entering Sector 3? We will be able to analyze that when he comes out of Maggots and Baggots. Oh, and he invalidates. That is not going to be an improvement by the Red Bull driver, so we'll have to wait. Let me have a quick look here in the chat. Hello, Thomas. If they rid of... Wait, hold up. If they get rid of the comms, I'll KMS. I know you are not going to do that, Logan. You shouldn't be doing that, because... Oh, Ellie, look at that. P6 for the McLaren driver. Not bad at all. If you want to look at other comms, feel free to do so on my own YouTube channel, where I post a lot of commentary videos. So even though if they decide to not have me anymore next season, feel free to drop in the on my YouTube channel. Of course, I'll be streaming every single week, unless I'm on vacation, of course. Keys on a fast one at the moment, entering a Cops corners right there now. Maggots and Baggots into lap Well, which lap is this from Keeves? I think it's his third one, his third shot. Megads and Pegasus, of course, turn 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. As he is improving by 2/10. How much more can he improve in Sector 3 into turn 15? Hard braking zone, fast right-hander. And he wants to touch that curb as much as possible down the inside into turn 16. Then turn 17, 18, and 19, of course, here around Silverstone. And will it be a pole time for the Alpine driver? I don't think so. It won't be a pole time, but it will be good enough for a P2 right behind his main rival, Calvin Racing. And this is even going to be more exciting as both drivers will be battling for the lead of the race in lap 1 already. Let's go back to Energy Dan. He hasn't been really impressive after his P3 in Azerbaijan. I think he would have wanted to expect an exponential growth, but looking at his results lately, he hasn't really been exponential. He hasn't really been linear either. It's been downgraded, his performance a little bit, which of course you don't always want as a racing driver. Getting P3 in Azerbaijan is definitely not a good thing. Well, wait, hold up. Getting P3 in Azerbaijan is obviously not an easy thing to do. And Energy Dan did manage to do so. I think Ellie came in P2, or was it the other way around? Energy Dan in P2, Ellie in P3. I couldn't remember quite well. But I mean, Energy Dan, last season he was also very great, but this season just a little bit worse than we would have expected. But we might be able to see some big changes in season 16, which is the next season, of course. This is the last race of season 15. But season 16 is full of surprises. It's a new game. It's a new, probably not a new format, but you know, the whole new game is going to be different, and it's going to be exciting. You know, different drivers, different tiers, different everything. I think these guys were even talking about opening a third tier, which is quite exciting for a lot of drivers. A lot of drivers still having to race as reserves. Usually we do see full grids here and there in Division 1 and Division 2. There's a lot of guys on a fast one. Mansell at the moment coming into turn 15. He's got a bit of traffic up ahead. That will be the Alpine driver and the Williams driver. But the Alpine driver coming into the pits, so only the Williams driver up ahead. But he is too far ahead, so no problem for the Haas driver. Heading into the last corner. What will Mansell do? What will Mansell do? Not on pole position, and neither will he be in front of Keeves. It will be a P3 for the Haas driver. What will Tashkern be doing? He is improving by 44 thousandths. Heading into Megads and Megads at the moment. He needs a good exit out of turn 13 to have a good exit out of turn 14, and it seems like he managed to do so. Is he improving? He is equal to his previous Sector 1 and Sector 2, so only Sector 3 is going to be the most exciting one for the Mercedes driver. Oh, and he is invalidated, comes back into the pits, and that won't be an improvement. Cassidy with a surprising P10. We would have expected him to be somewhere around the top 5, but currently not really finding his pace here around Silverstone. Maybe the other guys have done some more practice. He is improving by 110, which will place him possibly around the top 8. And Ellie with a surprising P7, still in P7, and not too many people are going to be able to improve. Only Mr. Wiggles, Cassidy, and Calvin Racing, who puts himself on a pole position. He was already on pole, and I don't think anyone was going to be able to beat that time, but still puts an exclamation mark on there. Cassidy putting himself right ahead of Ellie by 4 thousandths, right in P7, of course, and that will be your qualifying here around Speed Force Racing. Well, of course, around Silverstone, Great Britain. And let me have negotiate my contract. Oh, wait, hold up. It would be an honor to have you again next season, Thomas. Just need to get the contract negotiations out of the way. Pop in my DM and I'm sure we can make something up. Alright, so here we have got the standings of tonight. I'm gonna remove my camera and then we will be able to analyze everything. Calvin Racing putting himself on pole for the last Grand Prix of the season. Keeves right behind with only 2 tenths behind. And then we've got Mansell in P3. Further, we've got Utkarsh, Tashkern, Bossy Gaming, Cassidy, Ellie, Shaggy, and Alex Hawk in the top 10. And then we've got Cluster, Mindful Wasp with a surprising P12, Roddy in P13, Billy in P14, Dorn in P15. And then we've got Mr. Wheels, Energy Dan, Maggie, the V-Car, and Mark Werty all the way at the back. I think Mr. Smoke also wants to negotiate his contract, guys. Make sure. Oh, it is really raining. I thought it was a joke from the guys in the comms box, but apparently it is really going to be raining and it is really wet. And I think this will be wet tires, and I think we are going to be having an exciting end of the season. While we are waiting anyway, I'm just gonna double check the audio. Sure, packet of peanuts if you complete a race. Is that too Smoke? I think it is too Smoke, isn't it? Oh wait, I just noticed something in my camera, which is not great. Hold up, let me change that real quick. Because I am a fix man. I can fix a lot of things except for your broken heart. Okay, that is not the one. Position, this one, and then we should go. There we go. This, and then size. Let's do this. How does this go? Ah, perfect. We have fixed the problem. And now we're just waiting for the Grand Prix to start. As I said during the qualifying, 19 points between P1 and P2 in the Drivers' Championship. There's only one more race to be driven, and that is this one here around Silverstone. Cassidy trailing by 19 points on the championship leader, Keeves, in the Alpine team. I heard we have got a lot of Keeves fans in the chat. Make sure to drop a message who you think is going to win the Drivers' Championship. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm not going to jinx anything. But my thought, like, when I'm thinking, and the chances of there being that Cassidy, Calvin Racing. Did I say Cassidy? I meant Calvin Racing, of course. That Calvin Racing wins it is rather small. I'd say maybe because it's raining, like 15% that he wins it. The other 85 goes to Keeves. I'm not sure. All right, let's have a quick look with the tires. It is wets all around. Lap data is, of course, the one thing that we do need here in Speed Force Racing. Calvin Racing will lead the way to hopefully victory for him, so he can finish the season with a banger in P2 and a race win. Or if Keeves crashes and Calvin Racing gets the race win, he will be crowned driver champion of the season. Very interesting track, as I said before, but even in the rain, it is even more exciting because the racing around Silverstone in the wet tires is even better. According to Pirelli, it will be a one-stopper or a two-stopper on the wet tires. It is going to be wet all around, but of course we might be hoping for a little bit of intermediate tires at the end of the race, and then the race can really come alive, but that will be for the future. The only information we have received is that it will be full wets throughout the race, and that is going to make things very, very interesting at the top, at the middle, well, in the middle, and at the back, of course. And do these guys actually have a wet tire setup ready? Because, you know, going into Silverstone, you might expect a little bit of rain, but not wet tire weather. And these setups might have to be adjusted. And did the guys do... I'm not sure if Parc Fermi is on or off. If it's on, they had to run a wet tire setup throughout the qualifying. If it's off, they can switch setups between qualifying and race. But then the question is, did the guys choose a wet tire setup throughout the qualifying, or did they choose a dry setup? which they will have to use throughout the race. Everyone is putting themselves on the grid for the last race here in Speed Force Racing. We've got 20 cars on the grid. One driver has been disqualified already. Ronnie has been disqualified already too. And everyone has put themselves on the grid. Mr. Wiggles in P16 with a disqualification too. It is the last race here of the season in Speed Force Racing. The Silverstone Grand Prix. It's 5 red lights and away we go. We've got a beautiful start there from Calvin Racing. Keeps loses a position to Mansell. Mansell around the outside, goes onto the grass a little bit. Somebody is going down the inside of Tashkern, and that will be Utgars is losing many positions. Lost about 2 or 3. One to Tashkern, one to Bossy Gaming. Bossy Gaming trying to go around the outside right now of the Mercedes driver. Tashkern loses a position possibly. Here comes Bossy Gaming. Has the outside line. Beautifully done by the Haas driver. And he retakes P4 from the Mercedes driver. Beautifully done. And somebody is going into the wall. That will be Shaggy. And he will be causing a virtual safety car early in the race already. The guys will be going slow right now. Mansell took a lot of risk making the overtake on Keeves, of course. But he did go for it anyway. He had no fear. And I don't think you should be having any fear as a racing driver. We do see a big gap between P1 and P2 already. Of course, it's a virtual safety car, so that gap is misleading. Misleading, is that a word? I'm not sure. I think I literally translated that from Dutch to English. We will be having green flags pretty soon. I think Keeves can push a little bit more because Bossy Game is right up his ass. But that wasn't the case when the virtual safety car came out. And it will be green flags pretty soon. Keeves leaving a lot of space for the guys. Well, for the guys in front of him. And when will the green flag be there? Not yet. We're still waiting. Let me have a quick look with the position changes here. A lot of position changes in the middle of the field. Mindful was gained about 3. Energy Dan and Matt G gained about 4. And we've got green flags and go. Utgars up the Haas driver's ass. And Bossy Gaming seems to be sliding all over the place. Loses a lot of time too. Keeves in that last sector. Utgars not giving up though. Will he be going down the inside? He was taking a quick look, but he was too far behind and there was no chance of making that overtake down the inside. Mansell is caught up to Calvin Racing. So that Keeves on Mansell. The top 3 is running away at the moment. Bossy Gaming with a 1.3 second deficit on Keeves. Here comes Cassidy making the overtake on Tashkern. And he's gained 1 position in total throughout the race. Usually we do see Cassidy gain a couple of positions at the beginning of the race when he doesn't qualify that well. Here comes Utgars down the inside of Bossy Gaming. Beautiful overtake there by the Williams driver. A really risky one in turn 7. And I think Bossy Gaming is struggling with his setup. He was sliding all over the place coming into lap 2. And now he's losing a position 2 to Utgars and might possibly lose 1 to Cassidy. Let's have a quick look through Maggots and Maggots. Whether he's even going to be struggling more. Takes a lot of curb there down the inside. And Bossy Gaming, who's gained 1 position in total, so... Oh, Cassidy loses the car, goes into the gravel. And that will be a lot of positions lost for the Red Bull driver. Comes back on track, has to watch out for the guys behind him. The Haas driver, no, it's an Alfa Romeo driver, and the Ferrari driver getting past. You might want to go back to the front of the pack. Mansell, 5 tenths behind Calvin Racing. He's really catching up to the Red Bull driver. Possibly is going to overtake the Red Bull driver here in Sector 1. Because Sector 1 is really where you want to make that overtake on the wet tires. Possibly turn 3, which is going to be the turn coming up right now. The hard braking zone to the right. If you've got a good exit out of turn 1 and turn 2, you will be able to throw it down the inside. We saw Utgars try to do it down the inside of Bossy Gaming earlier, but he backed out of it again. Calvin Racing almost losing the car. The guys who are not using any traction control are really going to be struggling here around Silverstone when it's raining, because there's a lot of corners where you have to go really slow. And when you're going really slow, your foot is completely off throttle. And when you then go back on throttle, you really have to watch out because your car is going to lose it at some point throughout the race. You cannot always consistently get your throttle at the perfect time, at the perfect moment. So that is what happened to Cassidy there, unfortunately, coming out of Meggets and Beckets, if I'm not mistaken. Now Mansell trying to catch up to Calvin Racing. He's 3/10 behind. And Keith's really losing a bit of time, but I think he's not really pushing. He just needs to get within the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, when Calvin Racing wins the race. He just needs to get, let me do a quick calculation, 6 or 7 points. I think it's 7 points if Calvin Racing wins the race. So he needs to get 7 points, which is about position 13. And oh, Mansell trying to go right to that side. He has the better exit. He has the better exit. Will have the inside line right now. Will drain a little bit of VRS down the inside. Here comes Mansell. Oh, and they both go too deep. Mansell cannot risk anything, though. Calvin Racing, who is in a championship battle with Keeves. Here comes Mansell around the outside. Will he be going for it? They're going side by side, coming out of the last corner. What will the Red Bull driver be doing? He still has the inside line. Mansell side by side with Calvin Racing. And Calvin Racing takes the lead of the race again. Beautiful defense from Calvin Racing. And my apologies for the bad camera view. But the camera here around Silverstone is really, really bad. I've been saying that over the last couple of weeks when doing a race around Silverstone. Somebody has crashed. That is Cassidy once again. Loses it coming out of turn 2. Now Mansell will go at it again. It seems like we are having another issue. It is Tashkern dropping back to P17. The Red Bulls usually really fast throughout the qualifying, but not very consistent throughout the race. Ushgar's on the tail of Keeves. He will make it very hard for the British driver to keep it concentrated on track. Because when you're racing, you want to keep it, well, you want to keep yourself concentrated on what's happening in front of you rather than what's happening behind you. But when someone is pushing really, really heavily right behind you, you want to watch out. You want to keep your concentration on both the front and the back. Because it can happen in one split second when someone is going to make an overtake down the inside, around the outside, right behind you. And that is when you do need to watch out that you don't close in on the corner, that you don't close out on the corner. You know, there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen there. So Keeves currently trying to get away from the Indian driver. Let's go back to Dorn here all the way in P13. He made the overtake on the Ferrari driver, although Billy is going at it again. Side by side they go. Dorn has a better exit coming out of turn 15, and that will be P13 for Dorn at the moment. Let's go back to the V-car, who's right behind the Ferrari driver. Maggi and the V-car have been battling throughout the race. Throughout the race and throughout the season very, very heavily. So good job by the V-car, once again battling for top 10 position. He's been really consistent over the last couple of races. In the first couple of races of the season, we told the guys that they cannot run full traction control throughout the middle of the season and the end of the season. And then the V-car was one of the only ones who was actually trying to go medium traction control. He was struggling a little bit. That's when he lost a couple of positions. But he's back at it again. I think he's even using medium traction control right now. Goes too deep and goes off track. Has to watch out. And he's getting overtaken by his own teammate, Mr. Wiggles, right there. Mr. Wiggles who makes the overtake around the outside of Matt G. Both drivers having a heated battle, but Matt G retakes that position. And now he's getting attacked from behind by both the Alfa Romeos. They're really, really trying to get past Matt G. Here they go. Is it going to be 3 wide? It doesn't look like it. Matt G takes the lead of this little group. And while the guys are battling ahead of Doran, Doran is trying to get and make that overtake. Energy Dan up at P6. Gained 11 positions in total. He must have a great setup here for this rainy situation. Bossy Gaming goes off track into the grass and loses a bit of time to Energy Dan and loses a position to the Dutch driver. Doran crashes out of the race, coming out of Meggets and Baggets together with the Ferrari driver Billy G, and that will be the first safety car here around the Silverstone Grand Prix. Nobody is doing the live standings throughout the race, but I can tell you the live standings, mate. So as things are looking like right now, Keeves is still in P1 in the Drivers' Championship. We've got Calvin Racing in P2 and Mansell in P3. So that will be the the championship battle at the moment. A couple of guys coming into the pits, including Bossy Gaming, Cluster, Cassidy, and Alex Hawk. I think that's a really strategic play by the Red Bull driver already coming into the pits, because Calvin Racing, Manso, Utkarsh, and Thieves weren't able to come into the pits. There's a lot of position changes at the middle of the pack. Mindful Wasp gaining 7 positions, Energy Dan gaining 11, so did Matt G, and so did the V-Car. Then we've got Mr. Wiggles gaining 7, and Mark QWERTY gaining 10. So a good race by the Aston Martin driver already, but I think that's mainly because the guys behind him came into the pits or crashed out, but nevertheless, great job, Mark QWERTY. Is anyone changing onto the intermediates? Doesn't look like it, as I'm just gonna take a quick sip of water. Smoke to come back on. Oh, Doran left. Yeah, that's we would have expected that. To come back onto your comment, if memory serves, Bossy is a very fast driver. I'm gonna have a quick look with the Drivers' Championship. So Bossy Gaming is where's Bossy Gaming in the Drivers' Championship? Is he a reserve driver? Oh, he is indeed a reserve driver. He has 28 points in total. He has driven 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 races in total, and then 7 including the Silverstone Grand Prix. Tushkern coming into the pits, so will the Ferrari driver Billy G, if I'm not mistaken. Still 19 more laps to go here around Silverstone. A little water drop there on the camera. Keeves still leading the Drivers' Championship, but one little mistake can be fatal for the Alpine driver. And then all Calvin Racing needs to do is get into the top 3. But Keeves, he is smarter than that. He's not going to push. He's not going to risk anything. And I know that for sure. I've been talking to Keeves. He said last week, he said, you know, why weren't you here? All the races I win, you're not commentating. So maybe this might be the commentator's curse, where I will be commentating on him and he not, well, getting the race win or getting the Drivers' Championship. But that will be for 19 laps more, as there's going to be 19 more exciting laps of racing here around Silverstone. I don't think the safety car will come into the pits yet, as we've got a couple of guys behind, including Ronnie, Shaggy, Billy G, and Alex Hawk. Alex Hawk, who is going to get himself added to the safety car group. But the rest of the guys are not going to be. We can only see whether the safety car comes in or not when he comes across that third sector line. And the safety car will not come into the pits yet, so one more lap behind the safety car. And it's been a season where I've been really surprised by the amount of battles we had, by the amount of race winners we had. You know, Keeves winning a couple of times, Calvin Racing winning a couple of times. And the interesting thing that we might need to look into, if Calvin Racing wins this race, right? He has won more races. He has been on the podium more times than Keeves. I mean, how can you explain that to a non-racing driver, that the guy with the best stats doesn't win the Drivers' Championship? All props to Keeves, like he has done amazing over the last couple of races. I just think the season of Calvin Racing has been a little bit more, well, a little bit better. Yo, Marky, how are you doing, mate? Appreciate it. Yeah, big step up from the purple and gold. that was awful, mate. That was awful. No, this is a little bit better. Usually I also use another one, which is, let me let me see if I can show you guys. I should be able to show you. Hold up. Wait, where is that? Track layout, is it this one? No, it's not this one. I don't know, it's gone. Oh, wait, I do know. No, I don't know. I must have deleted it. I don't know. I usually put the standings on the right side, but the guys didn't like it, so I changed it to this. I think it's a little bit better. Not great yet. I'm looking into some other options later. Well, the next season, but I'd appreciate the comments on point, mate. Really appreciate it. What was I saying again? I was explaining something. I don't know. Oh yeah, how do you explain to a non-racing driver that the guy with the best stats doesn't win the drivers' championship, right? Calvin Racing has got, well, if this is going to be the results of the race, he's got 3 more podiums. He's got 1 more race win. He doesn't have any fastest laps though, which is not great. I think he's got more. Yeah, he's got more podiums. So like, how do you explain that to a non-racing driver, right? All right, the safety car is coming into pits. Everyone is right behind each other. Calvin Racing will lead the way to the finish line, of course. And here we go into turn 15. I don't think he's gonna go yet. That would be not too smart from the Red Bull driver. He should just wait a little bit more. Maybe coming into turn 16, 17 is where he should accelerate a little bit. And then he's going to be able to push. Oh, he's already going. Here they go. It's green flags and go, go, go for the Red Bull driver and the rest of the guys. As he's coming around the last corner, has to watch out for that curb down the inside. And Keeves has got caught napping a little bit. 9/10 behind, so is Martin for Wasp and Energy Dan, but I don't think it's easy for these guys to keep it close behind each other when it's raining this heavily. So props to Keeves for still keeping it within 1 second, but that doesn't do anything as the guys won't be able to use DRS here throughout the race as it is raining really, really heavily. Let's go on board with Bossy Gaming here, who's in a heated battle with Ellie. Cassidy now trying to go around the outside of Ellie. Will that be the Red Bull driver in P13? Yes, it will be. Around the outside he goes in turn 6. Beautifully done. And there comes Tashkern. Being a bit impatient, but Ellie has the better straight line speed. We'll have an awkward line here in turn 7. No, this is turn 6. My apologies, guys. And it is Tashkern around the outside of Ellie. Possibly with a switchback. Has a better exit as he's taking the deeper line into that corner. Down the inside he goes. Here they go side by side. Beautifully done by Tashkern. Taking a better line in the rain, which is a high IQ play. Boss Gaming pushing Mark Werty a little bit wide. Off track, potentially. That might be a little report there. And that is not a great farewell to the Aston Martin driver whose last race this is going to be. So just keep it clean around Mark Werty, guys. He is going to be having his last race. We salute you, Mr. Aston Martin. Tashkern, who just got past Mark Werty too. As I stand, Keeves will win by 12 points. Let me do the calculations. This will be 18 points, 25 points, 7 points. He will be winning by 12 points. Yes, indeed. But anything can happen because Mindful Wasp is one of those guys who's going to make it very difficult for Keeves. He's right behind the Alpine driver, and Shaggy has crashed once again in P19. Well, dropped all the way to P19. Let's go on board with Cassidy as he's really hungry for that top 10 position. Not a great qualifying. He also crashed twice, if I'm not mistaken. And he's trying to climb back into that top 10. Boss Gaming with an awkward line. Possibly has a little bit of a snap there coming out of turn 5. Turn 4, that is actually. Here comes Cassidy. Boss Gaming, who also has a penalty. And Boss Gaming, they're going 3 wide into a corner. Turn 6 is really difficult to go 3 wide, but they made it work anyway. And there goes Cassidy. Gets crashed out by Klusser. And that is really unfortunate. Cassidy coming back on track. Both the Aston Martins are going to make the overtake. And Cassidy almost loses the car. Goes onto the grass. Eliu now is having a heated battle with Ronnie there. I was going to say Johnny. But Ronnie really making it difficult for Ellie here. Currently coming into Sector 2, Sector 3. As that will be Megas and Begas, of course. Oh, there we go again. Ah, that hasn't happened in a long time. All right, great. We'll be back in a sec. Ah. Oh, you guys can still hear me. Sorry, guys. And here we are with it back again. Calvin Racing still winning this race, but there's still 15 more laps to come. He's 1 second ahead of Mansell. And Mansell is about 1.5 seconds ahead of Utkarson. Not many things happening. He's just got overtaken by Mindful Wasp, apparently. Also Energy Dan trying to push past the Alpine driver at the moment. All Keeves need is to score 8 points in total. Oh, Energy Dan almost losing the car and that's having an incident with the Alfa Romeo. The V car in the wall. And also Boston Gaming has to watch out to not go into the back of Energy Dan. And the V car, he had such a great race. Unfortunately, drops back to P13. Ellie now gets past the V car. Dashkern in P10, he has a good comeback race because, I mean, he dropped so many positions when he came, when he entered the race. And I think he crashed out, if I'm not mistaken. Drops back to all the way P18, now climbs back up to P10. So not bad at all. We've got an interesting thing happening here in P13 with Ellie leading Shaggy and Cluster back to Cassidy. There's a 6.3 second gap between those. And also Energy Dan tried to get past Bossa Gaming. Bossa Gaming, I'm really wondering whether he's struggling with his setup at the moment. Because, I mean, he's a fast driver. He qualified really well in P6. And then he climbed back up in P3, if I'm not mistaken, or P4. And dropped that many positions after only one lap. And does that mean he's not had the right... Oh, and we've got a crash and a safety car situation. Will Energy Dan have to give back at that position? Yes, indeed he does. That will be a Mercedes driver and a Ferrari driver. Billy G and Shaggy all the way in P17 and P18. Keeves has a huge margin. He needs to finish 18th or better to win the title. According to Smoke. And then Martin in the chat says 12th or better. No. It will indeed be 12th or better. Because you need 8 points. Right now there is a 19 points difference. Yeah, Smoke. So P1 gets 25 points, P2 gets 22, P3 gets 20, P4 gets 18. So the difference between P12 and P1 is, let me do the calculations, 18 points if I'm not mistaken. No, yeah, no, 17 points, 17 points. Wait. He only needs 18, doesn't he? Well, he needs 18. Doran in the chat says, come on, Keeves, bring the title home. And I think that is exactly what he's going to be doing. He comes into the pits. So do a lot of these guys. Playing the long game. And, I mean, safety car halfway through the race. That is always what you have to hope for when it is raining. Because that means you will still be going onto the same tire. Just a fresher tire. By the way, I've got a little bit of knee pain, so I'm gonna sit this way. Oh, someone is going off track. What is happening there? Alex Hawk coming back on track, almost crashing into the Red Bull driver right there, Cassidy. What is Alex Hawk doing? Watch out, mate. Oh my days. Went off track and then came back on track like a maniac. Bang, bang. Thomas the Rapper. Yeah. You never know what to expect with Thomas the Rapper in the comms box. He is as greedy as a fox. Yeah. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. I feel like, guys, we should be making a last race of the season song. A last race of the season rap, maybe. We have had an amazing season. It's season 23. No, it's not even season 23, it's season 15. We had an amazing season in season 15. Let me think what rhymes with 15. Hold up. 15. Damn, I don't know anything. 15. Teen. Clean. Yeah, the racing's been so clean. In season 15. Yeah, what you think of that, guys? MC Thomas in the house. No, I'm better with songs, not with rapping. Rapping is too fast. I don't know. I cannot think that fast in English. Neither can I in Dutch or French or German though. But it's just, I don't know. You have to think of words that rhyme with another word, and it doesn't always make sense. Like right now, 15 and clean does. 15 clean. Does that even rhyme? I don't know. Possibly do. Does. Do. Ba-da-ba-doo. Position changing wise, we're going to be looking at a lot of position gains from Ronnie and Closer, but both those guys didn't come into the pits yet, and neither did Mansell actually. And then also Matt G, Mr. Wiggles, Energy Dan have gained a lot of positions. Skeeves, on the other hand, lost 6. He's one of the biggest loser throughout this race, together with Ellie and Shaggy all the way at the back of the grid. Both lost 9 positions, and so did Bossy Gaming. But we, on the other hand, have to think about the pit stop these guys made. Some of the guys ahead didn't make a single pit stop, being Cluster, Tushkern, Mansell, Ronnie, Billy G, and Matt G, Mr. Wiggles. All those guys didn't come into the pits yet, if I'm not mistaken. So that is where Ellie lost a lot of positions. Although I think Ellie was all the way at the back already, though. Wasn't she battling for like P13 or something? No idea. Doesn't matter too much. Doesn't matter too much. We do want to put everyone in the spotlights for as long as possible. We don't want to put anyone specifically more in the spotlights than anyone else. Just when there is moves, me as a commentator, I have to look at moves and what is exciting for the watcher to look at, rather than just focusing on one driver, which I'm sometimes forgetting to do so, but I'm trying my best. All right, here we go. We have got green flag and go, 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 as the safety car is still coming into the pits at the moment. Mansell will lead this back to victory, hopefully. He hasn't come into the pits yet. 12 more laps to go. Isn't it meant to be a sprint? I don't think it is meant to be a sprint. Actually think it's P15 he needs, or P14 if Calvin gets fastest lap he wins. But he needs 12 points, doesn't he? I think he needs 12 points, which is I don't know which position that is actually. Utkarsh, here he comes. No, he doesn't need 12 points. He needs, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Mindful Wasp. Down the inside he goes. A lot of room has been given by Utkarsh. Around the outside goes Utkarsh. Utkarsh now having the inside line. Mindful Wasp will not giving up. Still sticking around the outside. Here comes Mindful Wasp. Goes a little bit onto the curb and loses the position to Utkarsh once again. And Mansell is out of the race. And another safety car situation. Mansell is out of the race, and that is a big one for the championship. Calvin Racing still in P2. Let me double check what that does to the driver championship. Mansell is in a heated battle, but a heated battle with Cassidy for P3. So if Cassidy scores more than 4 points, he's going to be crowned, top 3 of the Drivers' Championship. But also Utkarsh is battling for that top 3 position. So as things are looking like right now, it will be Utkarsh in the top 3. Mindful Wasp also battling, but he is behind Utkarsh, so that doesn't matter too much. Let me double check. Let me take my phone. All right. So Calvin Racing gets 25 points. That means he is going to be ending up with 356 points. So all Keiths need is 7 points or more. 6 points is not going to be good enough if Calvin Racing wins the race, because that means that Calvin Racing will be winning based on race wins. And let me double check with the rules and standings, because that is where we are going to get the point system. Rules, procedures, and penalties. Point system. Where can we find the point system? All right. So Keiths need a P14 or better. So yeah, that is indeed... No, it's not P15. It's P14. Martin, because he needs 7 points. Because if he gets 6 points, that means that Calvin Racing will win it based on race wins. Yeah. And if Calvin Racing gets the fastest lap too, he needs P13 to win the Drivers' Championship. So he's got a big buffer currently in P6. Boss Gaming has left the race. He had enough of it. He retired in the pit lane too, so he wasn't really looking forward to a wet Silverstone race. Neither would I, though. I don't think I like racing around a wet track anyway. Maybe around Belgium I do, because Belgium, it has a special feeling with wet tires. I don't know. And I'm in the tree. Let me double check. Lost it on my own. Totally understandable, Mansell. It's the last race of the season anyway. And things can... Well, things are possibly not going to be that way. Like, the chances of that happening is quite small. That Utkarsh, Mindful Wasp, and Cassidy all crashed out of the race. So I think you did lose your P3. Well, lose your P3 here tonight, but... Mansell in the chat says, well, GG all season, guys. Been fun all season. We'll see you next season. 100% Mansell. I won't be seeing you next season as a division. You're probably going to get promoted to Division 1, who race on Tuesday. And I'm the poor Monday commentator, so that is going to be it for me with commentating on you, guy, dude. But I wish you a lot of luck next season. I hope you're going to be excellent. An excellent racing driver like you've been this season, of course. Showing greatness on track and off track, of course. Oh, my knee really hurts. I don't know what's causing my knee to hurt that much. Oh, jeez. The safety car will most likely come into the pits right now, as everyone is behind the safety car thing. Wait, I think you made a mistake there, Martin, because if Calvin does win, he needs P14. Because right now, he would be trailing by 6 points. And 6 points is equal to P15. So he would need P14, which is 7 points, right? If Calvin Racing wins the race. That's my thought, though. Do them again. Do them again. I mean, nevertheless, he's not even in the danger zone at the moment. P6. Still 9 more laps to go. I think he's very safe, and he's also driving very, very safe at the moment. He's also got Mad G behind him, who isn't really known to be a dirty driver. So I think he's in the safe zone at the moment, Keeves. And it's green flags and go, go, go. Tashkern leading the pack to victory. As Calvin Racing is going to be in P2 and Klusser in P3. A result we haven't seen too often from the Dutch driver. Currently in P3. He did crash out Cassidy earlier in this race. And there comes Calvin Racing making the overtake on Tashkern, but also Mindful Wasp shoving it down the inside of Utgars. Now having the outside line. Taps the back of Klusser, and Utgars is going to make the overtake down the inside of the Dutch driver. Klusser giving up, and what will Mindful Wasp be doing? Down the inside he goes. Is the Klusser leaving enough space? Yes, indeed, it looks like it. Side by side they go, and Mindful Wasp down the inside. Beautiful overtake there. Keeps possibly trying to make the overtake around the outside of turn 7, I was going to say, but I mean, he decided to not go for it. Did someone crash out? I think someone did crash out, and then it's Ronnie all the way in P16. Alex Hawk now in a heated battle with Mad G. Also heated battle here between Energy Dan and Mr. Wiggles. Keeps now making the overtake around the outside. Right in front of Megates and Megates. So that is a good thing that he made that overtake right in front of Megates and Megates, because it wouldn't be ideal if that was right in Megates and Megates, because that is a risky move to make. Keeps now right the outside he goes, having the inside line in turn 15. I think Mindful Wasp is going to make it difficult. Don't collide. Don't collide. Don't collide. Don't collide. Oh my days. They do collide. Wheel bang in between the two. Make sure to not crash. And I've just spit my whole desk under with spit. Klusser drops back to P8. Mr. Wiggles up in P15. Energy Dan loses the car. Drops back all the way to the back of the grid. Keeps now. I think Mr. Mindful Wasp might possibly report Keeps for that wheel banging. Just so he has something to report. I don't know. But that would be a really unfortunate report. Keeps now in P4. Makes the overtake on Tashkern. Tashkern not making it difficult for the Alpine driver. Does have a good exit, so might possibly make the overtake on Keeps again down the straight. But Keeps just has too much straight line speed. Beautifully done there by the Alpine driver. Now, Calvin Racing has run away. He has a 2.4 second gap to Utgars. You might want to go on board with Alex Hawk here. We're going to remove that position change. As Klusser almost losing the car. But he's also on those old wet tires, so I can't blame him for anything. Or the struggling that he's going through at the moment. Ellie caught back up to P10, which is not bad at all. She was all the way in P17 earlier. This race, Cassidy now in P17. He's not gonna run away with that P3 in the Drivers' Championship, I'm afraid. Mad G, he's had a pretty good race already. You might want to go on board here with Billy on the tail of the V-car. The V-car got crashed out or crashed out himself. I'm not 100% sure. I think he got crashed out by someone. And he's going to be pressured from behind. Mindful Wasp making the overtake down the inside of turn 15. And now Alex Hawk side by side with Klusser. Beautiful overtake. Klusser is not going to give up. Klusser down the inside, but Alex Hawk breaks later than the Dutch driver. And what will Mad G be doing? Because he knows that this is not going to be easy. Oh, and they crash each other out. And Mad G is down the inside. Oh, and there's another crash. Alex Hawk, and then we've got Mr. Wiggles and Klusser. And Mad G now up in P5, Ellie in P6. The V-car in P7. What has happened there? Mr. Wiggles drops back to P14, Shaggy to P16. Mark Worthy is letting everyone go through. The Mercedes driver is letting a couple of guys go through. That is Tashkern. And the V car in P7, something we wouldn't have thought at the beginning of this race. Let me have a quick look where he qualified in P19. He's gained 12 positions in total. Also, Matt G gaining 13 positions in total. And that is what the race does for you. Well, the rain is what I meant to say. That is what the rain does to you and the race. Because look at how many position changes there are. At the back of the grid, we're looking at Boss Gavin and Mansell both losing more than 10 positions. Also, Tashkern losing about 10 positions. Cassidy losing 9. Shaggy losing 8. I don't think this was the race of Cassidy anyway, as he didn't qualify very well. And here comes the V car into Megan and Beckett right behind Ellie. And these two have been racing with each other over the last season quite frequently. The V car with some good straight line speed might drain all of the ERS he's got already, and he does indeed do so. Ellie around the outside she goes. And they're still going side by side, but the V car takes P6 at the moment. Ellie having the inside line now in turn 17, but that won't be the case for the McLaren driver. She drops back to P7, and also her teammate in P9. And not a bad result by the McLaren team at all, as Billy G, who has been really unlucky throughout the race, manages to get in P8, qualified in P14, so not bad at all. Energy Dan coming into the pits. Ronnie just won a position thanks to that. And I think a couple of guys are coming into the pits to go onto the wet tires once again, as it doesn't look like it's drying up anytime soon. Ellie loses a bit of time to the V car, and Billy G is really pushing, slides all over the place, coming into turn 4 and 5. As he dropped a bit of time to Ellie, but not a lot of time. Also, Mark Werty catching up to Glusser. Here he comes, Mark Werty. Will he be going down the inside? No, he backs out of it, which is possibly the smartest thing to do here in turn 6. Well, before turn 6, because that braking zone is really, really difficult to cope with. Alex Hawk is right behind his teammate. What will the Norwegian driver be doing? Is that even a Norwegian driver? I think it is a Norwegian driver, because all the guys with the OWR tag are Norwegian. And the two teammates go side by side in Cobb's corner, but Alex Hawk backs out of it. Mark Werty, who possibly wanted to risk everything to go side by side with his teammate through Cobb's corner. 5 more laps to race for Keeves. The pressure is rising, and what a beautiful switchback by Alex Hawk on his teammate Mark Werty, who potentially let him go through. And also Ellie just lost a position to Billy G down the straight. I don't think she's really draining. Oh, she doesn't have any ERS left. That is interesting to see, because we thought that Ellie wasn't using any ERS down the straight, but apparently she was. Billy G still has plenty in the tank, about 55% at the moment. Keeves, who is trailing by about 10 seconds on Calvin Racing. And we can definitely see who is going to be, well, the Lord, the king here in Silverstone. But the king of the whole season is the one who finishes with the most points at the end of the season. And that, for now, will be Keeves. The pressure must be rising for Keeves. It's a very tricky situation. Really, really wet on track at the moment here in Silverstone. And there's 5 more laps to go, with the tires getting even more difficult to cope with. One single mistake can be fatal for the Alpine driver. Alex Hawk almost crashing out. Glusser right there. Glusser, who had an awkward line coming into turn 6. Now Alex Hawk has to hope for a good exit coming out of turn 7 into turn 8 he goes, and then of course turn 9 Cobb's corner, but he's too far behind Glusser to make that overtake in Cobb's corner or Meggetts and Beggetts. Mansell in the chat says Calvin would want this championship so badly. He lost in season 8, went down to the final race of the season. And I do indeed believe that you want to win a driver's championship, but that means you have to perform. Oh, and they crash, Alex Hawk and Glusser. I think Glusser just closed in a bit too much on Alex Hawk right there. Glusser off track, and Shaggy getting a 3-second time penalty. That is obviously not ideal. Nobody is within 1 second of each other except for Tashkern and Cassidy, but I think Cassidy has a bit more pace than the Mercedes driver. No, I do believe that you want to win a Drivers' Championship, but in order to win a Drivers' Championship, you need to be strong over a whole season. And that is something we might have missed a little bit from Calvin Racing. He has been really fast. But the consistency is a little bit less. If you see the comparison between podiums and race wins from Calvin Racing, between the podiums and the race wins of Keefs, you see that Calvin Racing is outperforming Keefs in all of those categories. But then of course you have to look at the races where you didn't score a position, where you didn't score a race win. Those races need to be good too, whether you're P5, P4, P6, P7. And I think Calvin Racing has more of those races where he didn't really perform very well, where he crashed out, for example. A good example is Austin, where he and Cassidy both got the race win. I think both of them made a little mistake with their strategy, or they crashed out. I couldn't remember quite well, but those are those little key moments you have to think about as a racing driver. Push less and be more consistent, and that is something that Keefs has done over the whole season. Also, I would say Mindful Wasp is one of those guys who is, well, let's use Utgars as an example. I'm not going to say he's not one of the fastest, because he is one of the fastest. He's, without a doubt, he's going to get promoted to Division 1. He's going to be doing well there. He's just not at the same pace that Keefs and Calvin Racing is. Keefs right now is just keeping it clean, just keeping it, he's not risking anything. Even with Mindful Wasp pushing right behind him, I don't think Magi at any time during this race, during the last 2 laps, will come anywhere near Keefs. So what Keefs can do right now is just let Mindful Wasp pass and not try to cause any issues with the AlphaTauri driver. But here's the thing. Utgars is that driver who is fast. He's consistent. He's done a lot of great things here in Speed Force Racing. Just isn't there with the top guys, and that is what's making him in P3. On the other hand, you've got Cassidy, who's a bit like his teammate, really fast, but not very consistent. Looking at this race here in Silverstone, he lost the P3 in the Drivers' Championship just because he isn't very consistent. I think he crashed out 2 or 3 times here already, and those are those little key points you have to think about as a racing driver. Do I want to be fast? And I mean, do I want to push every lap and be less consistent, or do I want to push a little bit less and be consistent throughout the whole season? And that is something those guys at the front have done quite nice. The Vicar with his last battle potentially here of the season. He's right behind Magi, and is he going to grab a P5? That would be quite surprising for the Alfa Romeo driver. Magi defending the inside line, just got off the corner there a little bit from the Vicar. And will that be Magi keeping the position? The V-Car looking down the inside, but he backs out of it again. There's also a big battle going on for P8 between Alex Hawk and Ellie. A couple of guys having a penalty. Let me double check who has those penalties. Billy G has 8 seconds in total. Ellie has 3. Alex Hawk has 3. And also Mark Querty has 3. All the way at the back of the grid, we are looking at Tashkern with 5. Cassidy with 3. Energy Dan with 8. Mr. Wiggles with 6. And Shaggy with 3. Mr. Wiggles with another penalty that will put him in total of 6 seconds, of course. No worries at all, Adams. You have not missed too many things. Keefs is not getting overtaken by Mindful Wasp. We also almost saw Mindful Wasp and Keefs collide, which was going to make things interesting. But that fortunately didn't happen. Calvin Racing is most likely going to win this race. Although Utgars is pushing quite hard though. He's putting his P3 of the Drivers' Championship at risk. Mainly because he knows that Mindful Wasp behind him is also pushing. I don't think that will be too much of a pressure for the Williams driver, because Utgars is ahead of Mindful Wasp. Mindful Wasp, who now gets a 3-second time penalty. So Keefs is good for a P3 here in Silverstone. Still 1.5 more laps to go. And for the rest, I mean, there have been a couple of incidents which are reportable. And I mean, all I can say is just rewatch the race. I think that will be most interesting. Cassidy has lost the car a couple of times. I think Closer has crashed a couple of guys out. The V-car with a good comeback race. I mean, he qualified in P19, currently in P6, battling for a P5. And he's trying to go down the inside, looking for those different lines, which can potentially give him an opportunity to make that overtake on Matt G. And we're heading into the last lap between Calvin Racing and Utkarsh. But also Mindful Wasp and Keeves have already come across the line to get into lap 26 out of 26. We're currently in that stage where we're gonna get a little bit emotional about racing the last laps of the season. It's been a great season, season 15. We've done 21. Oh, I think Calvin Racing is wanting to have a battle with Utkarsh, because look how much time Utkarsh has gained here in that last lap. Those last couple of laps, the Indian driver into Cobb's corner he goes. Is he gonna try and push and get past Calvin Racing to grab that race win? Utkarsh trying to do everything to grab that last race win of the season. And he's got plenty of ERS saved. I think about 40%. Oh, almost loses the car! Almost loses the car! Oh, and he loses the car! Goes onto the grass! Has to watch out because Mindful Wasp is also battling for P3 in the Drivers' Championship. But he doesn't lose too much time to Mindful Wasp. Calvin Racing around the last sector. Here comes the Red Bull driver. He has done everything in his power to try and grab the Drivers' Championship in the last race. Nothing he could have done better, but he comes across the line to grab the race win in Silverstone. He will be P2 in the Drivers' Championship. Utkarsh comes across the line to grab a P3 in the Drivers' Championship. And then, of course, we've got Keeves and Mindful Wasp. Mindful Wasp has done a great job keeping it interesting in the top three. But unfortunately drops out of the top three in the Drivers' Championship and in this race. But your championship, Drivers' Championship is going to be Keeves. Gets a podium in his last race of the season. Congratulations to the Alpine driver. He wins by not too many points, but he has done it for the Alpine team, for himself, and for the fan club who tune in the stream every single week. Appreciate that, guys, and I appreciate everyone who has raced over the last couple of races. The season has been 21 races long. That is the longest season that I've ever done. I've done more than 75% of the races here in Speed Force Racing, and all I can say is thank you to everyone, every single one who has tuned into the stream, into the races, who have given me messages saying, Thomas, great race. All I can say about that is thank you very much, and thank you very much who believed in Keeves. He's done it. He's done it. Not something I would have expected a couple of races ago, but when he started winning his first Grand Prix, that was the first Grand Prix that I actually didn't commentate, where he won his race win. Then the week after he got his race win, the week after he got a good position, and then last week he got a race win. And today he only needed a P14 when Calvin Racing won the Grand Prix, and he's done it. He's got himself into the top three, but also congratulations to anyone else who has finished the season. Thank you for staying with Speed Force Racing. And let's have a double check on the standings here tonight. I'm going to remove my camera. There we go. This will be the results of the race. Congratulations to Calvin Racing. Also got the fastest lap. Utkarsh in P2 and Keeves in P3. Further, we have got a Mindful Wasp, the V-Car, a Maggie, Billy G, Alex Hawk, Ellie, and Cluster in the top 10. Then we've got Mark Quirty, Ronnie, Tushkern, Cassidy, Mr. Wiggles, Energy Dan, and Shaggy. And then, of course, we've got our DNFs being Bossy Gaming, Mansell, and Dorn. Guys, I want to give one big shout out to Mark Quirty. He has unfortunately driven the last race here in Speed Force Racing. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know whether he is coming back. But we wish you a lot of luck in your further racing career, Mark Quirty. And apart from that, everyone who's going to be here in Division 2 next season, I'll see you next season. And the guys who are going to be promoted to Division 1, I wish you guys a lot of luck in Division 1. And may our paths cross again. this is going to be it for me, guys. I'm going to make a very emotional text again, which I always do at the end of the season in every league. In the general chat, that is not going to be something for here. But thank you very much, guys, for, well, the support, tuning in every week. I really appreciate that. And I'll see you guys next season. This was Phoebe Thomas as your commentator. Peace out.